As promised last week, today we are going to see how to simulate an API backend server. So it maybe looks a little bit complex, but we'll make it very simple and very easy. We are going to use the capabilities of the apps script because it runs the server, or it runs as if it is a server on the Google API or in the Google servers. So we are going to create a new script. Let's call it backend API. Okay, and this backend API, or backend API as it was written, we are going to generate a function that's made ready by default by Google Sheets, so we can simulate a server. So it's called do-get. So whomever calls the do-get function and pass it and the parameter, it's going to receive it from the URL as sent. What we mean by that? Let me remember one thing we had said in the last week or in the previous week. In the previous week, let's say that we had all of this data. So this data is structured in tables, so it's now an info, and people needs, or someone needs, a piece of information out of this data. So I need to send a request and to search in all this information structured in table, and then to return the piece of information that is requested. And this is done by making a backend server that goes through the data. That's part of what we are going to present in our coming training that will be available on Udemy platform by the beginning of November 2022. So simply, if we have this production data, for example, or any sales data or whatever, average temperature, production units, production date, operation crew, and so on. So we need to prepare a data based on the request that we receive. Maybe we need to check it with the operator. So the operator P, how was the performance of the operator P? Are going to extend this search to make it multiple search, but that's in the coming video when we prepare the front end. Today we're going only to work with the back end. So here we are generating some routine that will loop through our data and return the piece of data we select from the URL. We are going to do this in a moment. So the first thing is we need to make is that we will prepare a variable, that crew, for example, and this crew will be selected from or be extracted from the parameter that is, or from the query that is passed when we send this URL or when we request this endpoint of the API. So that will be e.parameters.crew. So we need to send a query with the crew, what we need from the crew. Okay, and we prepare the spreadsheet or the sheet that includes the data. Will be sheet equal to spreadsheet app dot get active, and when we get this active, then we are going to get sheet by name, and to make sure we are getting the correct name, we just copy the name here of the sheet which includes our data. So like this, we had prepared the sheet that includes our data. To be able to prepare the response that we are going to return with a piece of information requested by the front end, we are going to prepare let result or results. I will make this as an array, and then in the array each element will be a result object that is built up based on the data we request. So result object, and this will be an object. Just I leave it empty now, and I will fill it when I find my data. Then we will start looping directly. So for I is equal to, I will start looping through the rows of my data. The first row, which is data, is 5. So I will start looping from 5. So I starts from 5, and then I is less than or equal to the sheet, my sheet dot get last row. Okay, less than or equal. Okay, that's great, and that's a method, so now that's great also. And then I plus plus to loop through. So now I'm looping through my rows. I need to make sure that the crew that I'm asking about is found in this row to send back the data. So how to check this? If the crew that I received from the front end is equal to my sheet dot get range, and the crew exists here in column D. So this will be D, and then to concatenate it with the number of the row, I'll concatenate it with I, and then I need to get value. Okay, but simply to make sure that first to get value, this one is a method. Okay, and then to make sure that I'm on receiving the correct data, I'll put here to string. Okay, to make it a string, and then we will see also how to confirm that it is an uppercase, maybe in the coming lecture. Okay, like this, it looks good, and then I'm going to the end. Okay, now on condition that this row includes the crew name or APC, like the front end had requested about. So what shall I do? The first thing I'm going to create a new instance of my object. So I will create simply a result object. I'll create an empty one, and I will show you at the end why we need to make this step. And then I'll start adding some data to the result object, or adding some tags or elements to the object. So the result object dot day. The first thing was day in our sheet. So is equal to, as we get the data from here, so it will be sheet dot get value, but this time it's column A, and I'm going to repeat this column, this row, or this order 5 times. Okay, will be column A, that's for the day, column B, that's for the date, column C, this one will be for the production, and then the crew is at column D, and then finally the temperature was at column F, I think. Yes, there was a gap column, we left it here, so it's at gap F. That one is average temperature. Like this, we had prepared inside this instance of the object all what we need, and then after that I'm going to my results array dot push, and I'll push it this object, so the result object. So like this, I had prepared my data. So if we need to test it, we test it before trying it on the URL. Let's test it with our friend, which is console.log, and we pass it results. Okay, but here, because we are going to test it locally first, to run it from here, not through the URL, so this crew needs to receive parameters by calling from the URL. I'll just generate a crew, a fixed crew for now. It's equal to C. Okay, we save, we give it a try and run it. So we missed something at the end. Console, okay, sorry, it's console.log. Yes, let's run it once more. Okay, great. We can see here that we had received an array of objects, date Monday, with the date and the data production units 140, and then Sunday, that's on February 24th. So if we check on our that's 18th, and then on the 24th comes group C again, and so that's great. So this means that the logic is working and I managed to extract the proper data based on the request. So, but now to return it to our URL, we need to make a return, and this return, the standard one, will be content service, that's as prepared by Google dot, that's either we create a text output, and we shall create the text output to make it ready for the front end. I'll generate it based on the JSON dot stringify of my results. Okay, that's great. Now that will be ready. Remaining one thing, it's better to send the type of data you are returning than let the other side detect it. So to make this, I will put here to set the meme type. Meme type is the media type, so it's based on old logic. So meme is coming from the media type. So that meme type will be content service dot meme type, and then dot. That's all the types that you can return, text and so on. We will select JSON, so the other side will know that we are returning a JSON. So, and let's save it, and we shall here return back the request that will come through the URL. Now, how to get the URL? The URL will make it on test URL now, because we're working still with the backend. Just we will test it from the browser, and then we will start working with the front end in the coming video. We can use deploy, test deployment. We'll use the test deployment, not the final deployment for now. We copy the URL for the test deployment. We open a new tab, and in this tab, we paste here the deployment. That's the URL for this server or that we had created to search through our database. To add the query, we will add then on, and then we will add crew equal A, for example, and then press enter. You can see greatly we had returned the data of the stringified data, because you can see this one is a string between quotations, Tuesday, exactly as we were having. That's for, we returned for group A. Group A was starting from date 19, and then crew A, that's correct, and the temperature and everything. Okay, you can make as you like. So Control V, and then you need to start a query. Put a question mark, and then you put crew equal C, for example, and then we press enter. It's working. Now return the data for crew C. This was on Monday. We started from 18th, and then after that was Sunday 24, exactly as we had returned from the beginning. So simply what we have done here, we had used the apps script to create a server, because it works on the Google service instead of making the Node.js that we are doing in our course, or how we plan the Node.js, because you can make it on your hosting or even on your local hosting, and we use it to work as a backend server that loops through our data. And this one, simply it receives from the URL the query, and then search in the data using the query, and selects only the pieces of data that matches your request, the request of the front end, and returned it to based on the URL request we had made here, which is this one. We make like this. You can add a query, you add it to the URL. We are going to see how to handle this in the front end, but that's in the coming video. Wait for our training that will be coming on Udemy during the first week of November 2022, and it will include great insights and technical skills about creating APIs, handling APIs, using third-party APIs on Node.js, on JavaScript, on AppScript, and many of the Google tools. We will be handling them in this training. Wait for it, join us, and follow our YouTube videos. Spread the information with more insights from simple ways for Google Apps and for all digital skills.